each other, introduce yourselves amongst everybody, please.
I
If you do not have a name tag, please let us know and we'll be happy to do a name tag for you. Let's get a name tag on everybody so that we get it. Get to know each other. There is no but about this. There is no but. There is no but. Are we coming in? Please come down to the middle of the floor. Oh, yes, sir! Is everybody comfortable? Do you need the AC to go up, down? Is it too hot to stay? Yeah, cooler in there. Eddie, how are you? How are you? How's it?
Guys, face so you can see up here.
Now, how many people here don't speak? Usually when we do this class, nobody in the room.
Anybody ever take the selfie this way?
No, because
Raise your hands high.
did you find it effective?
Yes.
How many of you are totally new to that are not students of Taekwondo? Two. Not others here.
But I'm here.
So how many uniforms do you know now? Does everybody have a name tag on? Does anybody have any questions before we start? No. You guys are all just sitting so quietly.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Does anybody have a specific reason for signing up for this class? Any comments on why you decided you wanted to do this besides you might ask yourself? This is our resident bully.
Is everybody comfortable?
Scoot down just a little bit more, because we're going to be using this space, and you guys aren't going to be able to see. Scoot back that way. Guys, please ask questions
morning. Morning. My name is Jung Ho Lee. I'll be the official bully today. And I have two of the instructors with me. We have an ongoing program called Do It. Defense education for women. At our school, this is our director and the senior instructor, Ms. Freddie Bailey, and the instructor, Kim Barrett. Please give them We are working on a very tight schedule. Okay, so we are getting a crash course in self-defense. We are going to touch the aspects, just some awareness and very simple techniques that we can do for the specific things towards the end of the class. Important thing is I want everybody to be comfortable, and I would like to be a little bit later. A few of the techniques.
Guys, something that's really, really important, and again, for the females and the gentlemen, you need to protect your space. If somebody's somewhere you don't want them to be, you need to set your space. One of the best things you can do if you are violently attacked or even non-violently, but you feel like it's an uncomfortable situation, is to yell. They don't expect a small female to yell in their face in addition to disarm them at least long enough to maybe rethink the plan if they have. So, some of you aren't students, most of you are, but we're going to see how loud we can yell, okay? Remember that. If somebody's in your face and you're afraid, yell and run. So, on three, we're going to yell as loud as we can. 1, 2, 3. Quick! Not long, quick. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay. That alone is going to give you some time to disarm the other person and make them think about what that is.
I think the big thing to think about when you're looking at any kind of self-defense is that usually the person that's doing the attacking has a script in their head. They've been thinking about this for a long time. They've got it planned. They know exactly where they want to drag you or take you to. It's a planned event. So the more spontaneous you can be in self-defense, the more advantageous it is to you because you're not fitting into their script. And then they get upset and they just go find another victim. So remember, yelling is a really good thing because they're not expecting that. They're expecting a meek person to just sit there and go, okay, you want me to go down there. So that's your big defense, is being spontaneous.
One of the first things that we're going to tackle is, I don't know about you, but I happen to be, as a guy too, be in a situation that's a little uncomfortable, unpleasant, unwanted situations that I get faced with. Some of the simplest things. Maybe I'll ask Master Joe to stand up for me. Yes, sir. At times, I have people coming in and giving me a hug. And I get into this whole thing. Some people that I love to hug, some people, come on. I'm sure that all of us have situations that people will just come and blatantly come and just hug you and say, hey, good to see you. And then, you are in a situation, okay, it's nice to see you, but I really don't want to be hugging you like this. So, in terms of, we have to be able to keep the situation, we need to be professional, we need to be courteous, so that we do not necessarily make anybody upset. However, if you keep us from the situations where there was hugs, are not as effective as it should be. Thank you, sir. So as an example, I haven't seen Freddie in a couple hours. I am so excited. Freddie, oh my God, it's so good to see you!
Nice to see you, Billy. How are you today?
Okay. It's a simple way to be able to avoid the situation. Here I am, my arms are going out because I really want to give her, like, she did not resist, she's not fighting back, she's not being rude to me, she's not upsetting me, she simply says, oh.
Now I'm in charge, so.
Exactly. Very simple technique, but it's very effective. Yes. We all are in situations like this. This is something that I actually would like to practice for a real quick second. If you guys can really stand up real quick. Grab a partner next to you. Okay. Like anything that we do, if you don't practice, it's not as effective. So practice quickly this.
We need more room. And even if you can't grab the reach, you can
Go ahead and try it.
just give your right
Hey!
comes to self-defense, we hope that you all take part in martial arts classes or ongoing self-defense seminars and training sessions to empower yourself to be a little bit stronger so that you are aware of the different surroundings. Okay? And you learn techniques to be able to defend you. We are simply giving you simple tools. And then we hope that you can apply these in the right situations. It's not necessarily about how strong you are. You can effectively take your opponent down and knowing exactly where to strike and how to strike makes a huge difference. In our body, there are a number of points that are very vulnerable. We're just going to take a couple of them. There are certain areas that are very vulnerable. Doesn't matter. You can be out there pumping iron all day long. Some areas you just simply cannot train and build and be buffed up to be able to keep everybody off of you. Starting simply with the facial area, we did a lot with what we call filtering, from palm strikes to strikes here. The filtrum area prevents that from happening and keeps it flatter. It works a lot better. Striking only with your first. Any questions? Okay.
Another thing that's very effective, if he has me here, I can't obviously turn on the punch or most things I can do. Our elbows are very effective. They're very, very strong, they're very, very pointy, and there's lots of things that you can make contact with. Again, you have enough time to get out. So if he has me here and I have use of his elbows, I just bring it back like that. So again, you want to twist and throw your whole weight into it. It's easier for me if you have if you can think, well, sometimes it's easier to lock you. It gives you a little more stability rather than just like that. So my main goal is to push him off balance so if he goes down. We keep also, you've got your elbow free from the front. You can go to the jaw, which would really, really hurt, even if you weren't tremendously strong. Again, remember the yell. So you got 4 different techniques you can use. You can use this, that, or that. Alright? So let's practice those.
Depends on the angles. The elbow can be done in, like she said, in many different angles.
Or if you go to here.
Right. So it could be from the side, it could be reversed, back here to the body, lower, towards the head, straight forward, upward. You could even come downward. Depends on where you may be. So elbows are very effective. It's a part of the body does not have to train. It's already there. It's a solid.
And it won't hurt you.
Okay. And it really doesn't hurt at all. Okay. Think about this. This is solid hook. Striking to somebody's face on the solar plexus. Go in here, shot. This is a very effective shot. And it's not like anything else that you have to really work it and train it and get better at it. You just put a little bit of pep into it. That's it.
But again, don't start and stop. Go all the way through.
Also, if you're the same size as your attacker, you come this way into the ear area. Because remember, Master Lee was pointing out earlier, the ears are very sensitive. So a good strike to that portion of the body as well.
Okay.
Try it.
Let's try some of those.
Anybody needs help, just scream.
Try from all different angles, going forward as well as backwards. And feel free to really hit these people hard. Hit them hard. Hit them
Now you yell better. You'll hit. There you go. Good. All right. Twist a little more.
Center.
늘 안 다치게 늘 다 조심하라고. Please also keep in mind that I'm noticing when it comes to an elbow strike, it should be a silent elbow. For instance, if I'm doing an elbow strike towards her, my elbow is going to be affected. Instead of my body holding, it's getting pushed in here. So if you use your shoulders and your tricep to hit towards somebody, you're not getting a specific target. So you're going to try to get the solid elbow into it. Elbow here, so the whole body is running into it. Okay? So elbow is what we are looking for. And another thing is the placement of your hip. Whether you're kicking and punching or doing any martial arts technique, it makes a huge difference if you can effectively put all your body weight into the target. You get a lot more power. Okay, it's just that all your mass has to be exerted in order to be producing our force. It's like me standing here. If I were to push her with my strength of my arm alone, I can only do so much, right? But if I were to put my whole body weight into it, I can push her a lot harder. Same thing with all the strikes that you do. Whether you're doing an elbow, you don't want to do this, you want to drive you away, you'll be able to double, triple, quadruple in terms of how much you can produce when it comes to the power. And then we'll just get that much more. Okay.
The other thing to remember is for women, your powerhouse is down in your hips. It's not in your upper body. So you need to make sure that you're always engaging your lower body in any technique you use so you get more weight behind it. Otherwise, this is moving it around like a cheerleader. So you really got to drive your whole body into it when you use your lower hip. Even when you're doing the palm technique, coming up, you got to use your legs because that's where our center is.
And Dawn made a really good point that we normally discuss at the beginning. A whole lot of it's about attitude. If you're walking through a crowd of people and you're walking like this, you're the one they're going to pick on. If you're walking through a crowd, you hold your head high, you look people in the eye, let them know you're not afraid of them. If somebody says, hey, you turn around and say, what do you want? Rather than just get all nervous and scared. If there's somebody close by, you walk up to them and say, I'm uncomfortable right here, will you walk me to my car? Especially if it's a couple or something like that. But walk with some self-confidence, even if you don't feel it. Look around, see where there's places where you can go if you do get in this situation. You don't have to be scared all the time, but just think. If you're in a strange city and you're walking to another hotel, keep your eyes open and see what's going on. But, walk with confidence and act strong. It's going to make a whole lot of difference in who they pick as their pick. Anybody have any questions so far? Excellent.
Okay, the lower body. As Master Lee said, the groin area, of course, is a very good spot to focus your energy on when you're trying to get away from attack. The other thing is you also have your shins. Your shins have a lot of nerves that wrap around the bone as you're going down. And exerting any kind of pressure down along the shin bone, as we all know when we've tripped getting out of the bathtub or bumped on the side of the bed, it's quite painful. So you can imagine whether you're kicking at the person or using your shoes as a weapon, it's a very effective way to get away from somebody. It'll make them stop and think for a moment. So we're going to focus from here down for the next couple techniques. These techniques are really good if you're in close. We talked about doing a palm strike, but you can't, if your arms are down here, you can't really use the palm strike very effectively. You're like stuck. You can pinch, of course that's a good technique. But the other thing you can do is you're in tight. You can bring them in tighter and drive down with your knee. So you're actually taking control of the situation. They had control because they had you. Now I've got control because I'm going to go in with your knee. Knee is effective for the belly. If they're down lower, you can get them in the solar plexus. But it's really good for the groin area. The big thing about anything with the groin is don't stare at it. Because you know what? They know it's coming. So they'll be like, okay, well, you just avoided your technique completely. So if that's the move you're going for, don't fixate on it. Just go for it. You got to be quick, and you got to just go for these techniques. Big thing to do at home, if you're part of this is muscle memory. You can't sit there and go, oh my God. All right, let's see. Technique number 1 was the pinch. Number 2 was, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. You have to kind of just go with the situation. So you need to have these techniques under your belt. And by doing that, it needs to be muscle memory. You don't have to go, okay. So go home and practice. Not all the time. Take the cushions off your sofa, the pillow off your bed, somebody hold it for you, and just kind of walk through the techniques every once in a while. We certainly practice as Taekwondo students all the time. Practice our front kicks and everything else. so that they become muscle memory, and by the time you get to sparring, you kind of have some things you can use because you know how to do them already. So these things you have to practice. You can't just walk out of here and never try the technique again and expect when you're in a situation of being attacked that it's going to be a piece of cake, I'll be able to get away. What was that thing that I did? So you got to practice. So the first thing I want you to practice is the knee. When you go up to the person, make sure you grab their body so you can drive the knee really in. You want to pull them down as you're driving up. Okay? The other thing is the kick. No, Master Joe? Now, for Master Joe's, you've got to really yank him down harder. Really drive upward more. The other technique I'd like you to practice is the kick. Now, this isn't a front kick, so you're not going to worry about pulling your toes back. This is more of a kick off the top of your foot. With shoes, it's not going to matter. For here, if you want to do a proper front kick technique where you're kicking off the bottom, or you put your foot down so you're really kicking off the top of your foot so you don't hurt your toes, it's fine. But you just want to bring it up. And that's if you have more space. This is not going to be a good technique if he's got his arms around you, but if you're away and you just want to get a final shot in before you run, that's a fine technique. Make sure that you bend your knee and you really snap as you're coming up so that you get the best bang for your buck. Once again, don't fixate on the area. Does anybody have any questions? All right, let's practice.
We're starting with the knees. Make sure to place your hands and fold down. Try to kick like a football player's kick. Lift it straight up. It's a groin shot. Bend the knees. Snap.
Yeah, you can actually
importance of you being committed. You really have to be committed for this. And you really gotta get into it. And
don't apologize when you kick your shoes.
exactly.
Don't say you're sorry, just leave. Don't stay to see if they're all right. Seriously, they can get help from somebody else. You call the hospital. Don't stay around and see somebody else first.
Call 911 when you get the
Go where you're going and then get help.
Ms. Farragut talked about shin, how effective your shin is. Your tibia is very tender. Pushing it in the right right direction makes a huge impact. Okay? Right here. Any portion of your tibia that runs along it down, you should be able to feel it. You can take your fingers down and you'll feel it by pushing the pressure. Okay? And you have to be able to effectively use this point here, whether you're kicking upward, downward, in any portion of the straight, it's the structure thing. Think about it. I'm just going to tap in here. If I were to kick straight forward because it's coming at me, if I'm standing behind it, the shin straight, okay?
Really, really good weapon.
Very effective. Hard.
Those nice big pointy shoes that they have now, think about those little weights on the bottom of your feet and how effective they are coming forward or even coming back with it, going up and down and stuff.
So we're using the target. Okay. I'll ask Ms. Barringer to give you a technique.
From the front, you can either kick, or you can just take your heel and drag it right down the foot. From the back, sometimes it's effective to go up. So instead of coming and going down, you can go up with your heel because that hurts a lot more than going down. The other thing is just coming back with your heel backwards.
And also stomp on the foot.
Front, back, and then dragging up and down. So there's these steps. Very effective. And think about just stomping your foot.
That hurts.
Anybody have any questions? Kick front, kick back.
I actually have a comment. If you're out on the town wearing high heels, especially if they're 3.5 inches or higher, if you dig the heel in between the first and second toe, they're not going to get back up very quickly.
So once again, the top of the foot, quite sensitive. Very, very sensitive, especially with the spiky heels. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, let's try couple of these. Take it into him. Let him have it.
I'll be right.
Make sure you do it for both directions.
And please have you know, we get comments a lot from saying that, you know, I only weigh 80 pounds. You know, consequently my arms are only 2 pounds. You know, and then getting somebody who's 200 pounds by the effectiveness of my strikes aren't as effective. So we have to really worry about specific targets. And another thing to consider is that whether you're doing a shin scrape, striking downward makes a huge impact because you're exerting your power, the weight goes down. It's like this. If you were to carry a 2-pound dumbbell, okay, you're rolling across, let's say he's laying on his chest, okay, on his back, you're rolling across the back on his chest, 2 pounds, it's not going to hurt. Huh? But if I lift the 2 pound up and drop it, think about it, same 2 pounds, it makes a huge impact, right? So if you're striking somebody, if you drive it down, you get a lot more force out of the same weight that you carry on your arm, and your leg, and your upper body. Okay? So don't be too fixated about, I only weigh 5. So you really can, depends on how you strike, you really can put a lot of damage to the situation if you're really committed to make this. We're going to do a couple of, right, there will be.
All right, what we're going to do with the combinations is Mr. Lee's going to attack, and we want you guys to tell what we will need to do to get out of the situation. So he's just going to randomly attack each of us, and then you guys are going to tell what she can do to get out.
And this is the most important part of self-defense because there is no script. You can practice this, you have these tools, and not every situation is going to work out exactly the same way. So depending on the situation, depending on the size of your building, you have to be thinking, okay, I can do this, do this, do this, do this, and you have to try multiple options. Not one's going to get you out. Sometimes you may have to do shin scrape 10, 20 times, and elbow 5, 6 times. That's what it takes. But I want you to be able to think quickly on your feet and do what it takes for you to strike and get out of it. Let's see. I go spin. I do this.
All right, what can she do? Elbow.
No.
What about the pinch?
You have to spin out.
No, don't tell her, get out of the Roy.
Otherwise,
Pinch. Pinch.
Right.
Last thing. The most important thing is to run. Don't stay around. Once he lets go, get out of the way. Y'all got to be more helpful here. She would have been dead. She would have been definitely dead.
And this pinch, they are very effective.
If anybody wants to see how it feels, mentally, they'd be happy to demonstrate.
They are extremely effective, and it really doesn't take much. It doesn't take much training or strength to be able to work this, and they're extremely effective and use them in all the situations. Yes, you one way or the other be able to have an access to here, and they come extremely effective. That's part of it. Okay, now.
Come on, guys.
She needs help.
Pinch. Knee.
Now, if I get a bruise because you guys don't say fast,
He's coming back.
try it again.
Elbow.
Second foot.
Back kick.
And that's very important. No matter how comfortable you may be, you don't want to stay there and fight. Okay, do what it's got to do, and you got to get out of there. We do not encourage you to fight at all, of any situation, at any time. There's a very famous story. Since most of you are martial artists, I'll tell you a quick story about. There's a Grandmaster Choi who became, as a Korean, became a legend in Japan in the war of karate. It's more commonly known as Masoya. And his black belt examinations, he used to ask his students, most tough and macho black belt applicants, he will tell them, they've been training for years and they are tough. And he used to tell them, you're in a situation, you're walking down with your wife and your child, you're down the alley and you're being mobbed. They say, hey, give me everything you got in your wallet. What would you do? And of course they always say, Sir, I've been training karate and martial arts 10 years. I can handle it. I will beat him up and be the hero for my family. And instantly, he will fail him. It says, are you saying the $20 you have in your wallet is worth you risking the life of your child and your wife? The $20,000? Think about it. Sometimes it's better to do a little. Okay. And when it comes to self-defense, doesn't matter how comfortable, how fit and strong you may think that you are, mistakes happen, things happen, you need to do what you need to do and you need to get out of it. I really want to plant that in your head. We don't want you to stay there and fight. Quick hits and out of it.
Anybody have any questions?
The big thing is being creative. You have a lot of options. You have to remember them all. Your body weight is an option. Your head is an option. Your hands are an option. Your legs are an option. Your teeth are an option if you have to. But you have a lot of options that you need to keep in mind when you're thinking about things.
Guys, if you're in a crowd and you really need help, a lot of people, everybody tries to look the other way because they don't want to be the person to step forward. Two things to remember: scream fire, not help, because they're going to respond to the word fire because they think they're in danger. And second of all, point somebody out. Say, hey, you in the green t-shirt, I need your help. Pick somebody out specifically. Now that person may not help, but she's going to try to find you help because nobody's looking at her. So, make sure you're aware of what's around you. The little girl that was killed in Florida in front of the car wash. Chances are so good if she had just fallen to the ground, she'd probably still be alive. Because his plan was to do exactly what he did. Let her go, and she went, and she died. And she was small, but if she had fallen to the ground and screamed, at least somebody would have noticed what had happened. So you just think, don't go to a second crime scene. The first crime scene is where they grab you. If you can get away there, the second crime scene is 99.9% of the time you're killed. So try not to go with them, even if you have to cause a scene or hurt somebody a little bit. Don't get in the car and leave with somebody else. Absolutely not. So be aware of your surroundings. See what's there to help you and use it. Don't feel you're bad if you're going to ask somebody to help you or walk in your car. If you're at a mall and all of the parking lots dark, they've got security guys. Get to walk around there. If there's an empty cargo van parked next to your car, don't go in the car by yourself. That's fine. So, be aware. We're going to give you some handouts at the end to kind of read through because we can't go through it all. Be aware, be self-confident. Continue, those of you who are doing martial arts, continue to train. It certainly gives you a lot more confidence when you get into situations. There's self-defense classes that you can. We offer them pretty much on a monthly basis through our organization at Lee Brothers Taekwondo and Strickland 6 Forks. Anybody who wants to come, we'd love to have you. It's about a 2-hour class. We do charge a fee, but all our money we raise goes to domestic violence. So it's a good cause, and we feel like it's a good thing. But continue to practice at home. Practice here. I'm sure all these guys will let you kick. Especially Master Joe seems to be enjoying it. So, no questions?
A lot of role-playing, a lot of scenario-based situations. When you go home, you need to practice. Practice with your boyfriend, practice with your husband, practice with the friends around you. Practice his techniques, practice them in different settings and different situations. And you need to do that on a regular basis. Also practice, and you have to do a lot of role-playing, scenario-based stuff in your head too. One of the common things is that in our next courses we do adrenal stress response, that when you're approached in the situations, due to nervousness and everything else, and our body shuts down. When somebody comes up to you with a weapon in their hand, with aggressiveness, yelling and screaming and cussing, whatever it may be, all of a sudden your body shuts down and everything goes haywire from there. So you have to play things like that in your head. Okay, my body calm down, breathe, eyes forward. You have to really play the situation. That's a very important part of it. Once you have the tools to be able to do what you need to do, the tools are useless unless you can keep yourself at a composure to be able to handle the situation better, so you can follow through. And practice. We cannot stress that enough. Continue to train with the inner martial arts classes like this. And seek any other self-defense courses. You have to constantly find yourself be aware of this. You have to be constantly involved in situations like this. And be aware that you may have to use this in situations where you don't want to someone who you may not really want to hurt, but it's a necessity. And you have to be do, you have to be committed enough to follow through. It's all about your safety, not everybody else's. Due to our time, we are going to wrap it up, and we just ran through something real quick, and hopefully you can join us. And if you have any questions about anything, speak to Mrs. Kennedy and Erica, and there are excellent instructors. There are dozens more instructors at our team that teaches for women's self-defense and all females, trying to make the environment comfortable. So if you have any questions, email them at leebrothers.com/self-defense. We'll get to Ms. Bailey. She'll contact you with any information, any questions, feedbacks.
Thank you all so much for coming out and sharing that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. The basic tips in self-defense that you can read over. Read it over as an invitation for yourself.
These are just like safety tips, like if you're out traveling or you have an apartment, things to think about when you're little.
Oh, do you? I've seen you on Friday. Like that whole thing.
Yeah. Guys, we got some whistles up here. I don't know if you have enough to go around with everybody with one. Step up and take it. Got a light on the end of it. Loud.
How's that?
So it's good stuff.
Excellent tool for your keychains to keep it in there.
Very, very loud.
This way, because you need to be able to track people's ears, eyes, the situation. Thank you again, and we have another class starting in 5 minutes, so you can stick around.